let's get one thing straight. This isn't about a recession. This is about a full-blown, lights-out, end-of-the-world as we know it collapse. The banks are gone, the supply chains are severed, and the grid is dead. When the system finally eats itself, the only thing that will matter is where you're standing. Your wealth, your status, your entire life's work will become worthless overnight. The game will change, and the new rules will be brutal. Forget everything you think you know about safe places. We're not talking about low crime rates or good school districts. We're talking about raw, unfiltered survivability. I've analyzed every state based on what truly matters when it all goes sideways. The ability to grow food, access to fresh water, defensible space, community strength, and a low threat from natural disasters. Most people are sleepwalking into a catastrophe. You're not. In this video, I'm cutting through the noise to give you the hard data on the 9 states that offer a realistic chance to not just survive, but to rebuild and thrive. What you're about to hear is blunt, it's direct, and it might be the most critical information you ever get. Pay attention. 9, the frontier state, Colorado. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Kicking off our countdown is a state that will probably make some of you scratch your heads. Colorado. Let's be blunt. On the surface, Colorado seems like a disaster waiting to happen. It's got high household debt and a complex, modern economy deeply plugged into the very system we're talking about escaping. Mainstream analysis would tell you to run for the hills, but that's because they're analyzing it through the lens of a recession, not a total societal reset. In a world where the financial system is a smoking crater, that debt becomes meaningless. What matters is tangible, real-world value, and that's where Colorado reveals its hidden strength. The single most important asset in a collapse scenario, especially in the American West, won't be gold or guns, it'll be water. Colorado's water law is based on a first-in-time, first-in-right doctrine. This isn't just some legal jargon, it's a survival cheat code. If you are savvy enough to acquire land with senior water rights, you possess a legally defensible, historical claim to water that is superior to others. When the taps run dry and the reservoirs shrink, those rights are the difference between life and death. It's a brutal zero-sum game, and owning those rights means you're holding the winning hand. Forget buying a bug-out truck. Your first investment should be a consultation with a water rights attorney. It's a complex, bureaucratic hurdle, but clearing it gives you a level of security that is almost impossible to find elsewhere. Now, let's talk food. The eastern plains of Colorado are a vital part of America's agricultural heartland. We're talking massive production of wheat, corn, and cattle. In a collapse, this means the raw materials for survival will exist locally. The challenge, of course, is that the industrial-scale distribution network will be gone. This isn't a plug-and-play solution. You must position yourself to take advantage of it. This means securing your own defensible homestead in the rural counties, where land is still affordable. You need to be growing your own food, raising your own livestock, and prepared to secure resources from your surroundings. The culture in these rural areas is already primed for this reality. Generations of dealing with brutal winters and physical isolation have cultivated a deep-seated independence and a practical, no-nonsense approach to preparedness. They don't just talk about it, they live it. This self-reliant mindset is a cultural resource that is just as valuable as the water in the ground. But make no mistake, Colorado is not for the faint of heart. The risks are severe and growing. Catastrophic wildfires can erase your homestead in an afternoon, and prolonged droughts can test even the most senior water rights. This state demands proactive, intelligent preparation. It's a high-risk, high-reward environment for the serious operator who is willing to do the homework and play the long game. 8. The Appalachian Fortress, West Virginia. Next, we head east to a state that is chronically underestimated and often dismissed. West Virginia. In our current system, it's plagued by economic hardship and infrastructure challenges. But when that system implodes, its greatest perceived weaknesses transform into its most formidable strengths. The state's ultimate asset is its topography. The Appalachian Mountains are not just beautiful scenery, they are a natural fortress. The landscape is a maze of dense, unforgiving forests, steep ridges, and isolated hollows known locally as hollers. In a world without the rule of law, being difficult to access and nearly impossible to find is a strategic advantage of the highest order. This is a place where you can truly disappear. The mountains are a self-contained survival ecosystem. The forests provide an endless supply of timber for construction and fuel. The hills are teeming with wild game deer, turkey, bear, providing a sustainable source of protein for those who know how to hunt and trap. Most importantly, the region is blessed with abundant and reliable rainfall, feeding countless springs and creeks. This makes small-scale farming and gardening not just possible but practical. The threat of mega droughts that plague the West is virtually non-existent here. For the individual with legitimate off-grid skills, West Virginia is a veritable paradise. The ability to live off the land is not a hypothetical concept, it's a tangible reality. This practicality is woven into the very fabric of the culture. Self-sufficiency isn't a trendy hobby here, it's a multi-generational way of life. People have been gardening, canning, hunting and preserving food for centuries, not because it's fashionable, but because it was necessary. That knowledge, passed down from grandparents to grandchildren, is an invaluable resource that you can't learn from a book or a YouTube video. It's an ingrained, practical wisdom that will be critical for rebuilding communities. Furthermore, the cost of entry is incredibly low. Land is cheap, and the lack of restrictive building codes in many rural counties means you can establish a homestead quickly and without fighting a wall of bureaucracy. The people have been weathered by economic adversity. They are resilient, tough, and know how to make do with very little. Of course, it's not without its dangers. The rugged terrain means infrastructure is fragile, and the primary natural disaster threat is flash flooding, which can be devastating in the narrow valleys. Choosing your specific location with careful attention to elevation is critical. But for the person who values raw seclusion and has the skills to harness the immense natural resources, West Virginia offers an unparalleled opportunity to vanish from the chaos and build a sustainable, defensible life from the ground up. 7. The Community Haven, Maine. Finally, let's journey to the northeastern anchor of the country, Maine. If the thought of lone wolf survival in a remote mountain hollow doesn't appeal to you, and you believe the real key to long-term survival is the strength of the community, then pay close attention. Maine's most powerful asset isn't its landscape or its resources. It's its social cohesion. In our current world, Maine consistently ranks as one of the safest states in the nation, boasting exceptionally low crime rates. Digging deeper, studies show that an overwhelming majority of its residents feel safe and trust their neighbors. This isn't some fluffy feel-good statistic. It's what social scientists call social capital, and in a crisis, it's worth more than gold. When the chips are down, a community built on a foundation of pre-existing trust is far less likely to fracture and turn on itself. Instead of hoarding resources and eyeing neighbors with suspicion, they are more likely to pool skills, share labor, and defend one another. That is a force multiplier that you simply cannot replicate on your own. From a self-sufficiency perspective, Maine is robust and proven. It is a leader in the local food movement, not as a weekend fad for city dwellers, but as a core component of its rural economy. The state is dotted with small, independent farms, and farmers' markets are a way of life. This means the infrastructure, the equipment, and most importantly, the knowledge for local food production are already deeply embedded and operational. You are not starting from zero. You are plugging into a system that is already working. Beyond agriculture, Maine's geography offers a powerful trifecta of resources. Its vast, rocky coastline provides access to fishing, clamming, and harvesting seaweed. A nutrient-dense resource many overlook. The immense forests covering nearly 90% of the state offer a seemingly infinite supply of timber for building, firewood for heating, and ample territory for hunting deer, moose, and other game. Crucially, Maine is a fortress against nature's wrath. Its risk of a truly catastrophic natural disaster is remarkably low. It sits far from any major seismic fault lines. Its northern latitude shields it from the full force of hurricanes that devastate the southern coasts. The landscape isn't prone to the large-scale wildfires that scorch the west, and major tornado outbreaks are a rarity. The single greatest environmental threat is a severe winter, but this is a predictable and manageable challenge. The people of Maine are experts in handling brutal winters and long periods of isolation. They are culturally and practically equipped for it. The primary drawback is a short growing season, which demands a serious commitment to greenhouses, root cellars, and advanced food preservation techniques. But for those who are willing to embrace a four-season climate and who prioritize community strength above all else, Maine stands as a secure and stable harbor in the face of a societal storm. 6. The isolationists' fortress. Wyoming. Coming in at number 6 is the embodiment of raw, untamed American spirit. Wyoming. Let's cut straight to the chase. In a collapse scenario, population density becomes your number one liability. More people mean more mouths to feed, more competition for scarce resources, and more potential threats. Wyoming's greatest asset is its profound emptiness. It is, by a massive margin, the least populated state in the entire country. We're talking about fewer than 600,000 people scattered across a vast, rugged landscape. When the system breaks, this lack of population isn't just an advantage, it's a strategic superpower. The chaos and resource wars that will define life in densely populated areas will be a distant rumor here. The sheer scale of the land provides a natural buffer that is impossible to replicate anywhere else. This isolation has forged a culture of radical self-sufficiency. In Wyoming, independence isn't a political slogan, it's a daily necessity. The distance between neighbors and the harshness of the environment have created a populace that knows how to take care of itself. This is a place where you're expected to solve your own problems. This ethos extends to the state's economy, which is grounded in tangible, real-world assets: cattle ranching, sheep herding, and energy production. These aren't fragile service economies, they are industries that produce porpia commodities. The sprawling grasslands are ideal for raising livestock, providing a resilient and decentralized food source. For those with the skills, the mountains and plains are teeming with wildlife: elk, mule deer, and antelope, offering a sustainable supply of protein. Furthermore, gun ownership is not just a right but a deeply ingrained part of the culture, ensuring residents have the means for both hunting and self-defense. However, choosing Wyoming is choosing to embrace a harsh and unforgiving environment. It is not for the unprepared. The winters are notoriously brutal and can cut you off from the outside world for weeks at a time. Wildfires are a persistent and growing threat in the summer months. The arid climate and short growing season make traditional farming extremely challenging. A successful homestead here requires a strategic focus on livestock, robust greenhouses for cultivation, and significant food storage capabilities. That isolation is a double-edged sword. When things go wrong, you are well and truly on your own. Help isn't coming, but that is the fundamental trade-off. Wyoming is the ultimate destination for the well-prepared isolationist who values space and solitude above all else. If your strategy is to get as far away from the chaos as possible and be left completely alone, there is no better fortress in America: the Granite Stronghold, New Hampshire. At number 5, we have the state whose motto, "Live free or die," is less a catchphrase and more a practical blueprint for a post-collapse society. New Hampshire. This state offers a unique and powerful combination of cultural independence, community resilience, and a remarkably low-risk profile. One critical factor that most preppers overlook is the pre-collapse stability of the population. A community that is already financially secure and stable is less likely to descend into desperate chaos. New Hampshire consistently ranks as one of the safest states in the nation, not just in terms of low crime but also in financial security. The population has low rates of poverty and a culture of fiscal responsibility. This financial stability provides a crucial buffer, meaning the initial shock of a collapse will be less jarring here than in states already teetering on the edge. The live free or die philosophy permeates every aspect of life, fostering a fierce independence and a healthy skepticism of centralized authority. This is a culture that values self-reliance, privacy, and limited government, the exact mindset required to rebuild a functional society from the ground up. In a world where federal and state governments have failed, this pre-existing cultural framework is a massive strategic advantage. In terms of self-sufficiency, New Hampshire is a powerhouse. The state is covered in dense hardwood forests, providing ample timber for construction and a limitless supply of firewood for heat, a critical resource in the cold northern climate. Fresh water is abundant, with countless lakes, rivers, and streams. The landscape is dotted with small farms and orchards, meaning the skills and infrastructure for local food production are already well established. Perhaps New Hampshire's most compelling feature is its almost complete lack of major natural disaster risk. It is geographically shielded from the nation's biggest threats. There are no major fault lines to produce devastating earthquakes. It's too far north to be a primary target for major hurricanes. The topography doesn't lend itself to the massive tornado outbreaks of the plains or the catastrophic wildfires of the West. The single, predictable threat is a severe winter storm, a hazard the population is already well-equipped and culturally prepared to handle. The primary strategic weakness is the state's southern region, which is functionally a suburb of Boston. This area would undoubtedly face immense pressure from population displacement. To succeed in New Hampshire, your focus must be on the central and northern counties, away from the southern border, while land can be more expensive. The combination of a resilient, independent culture and an incredibly safe environmental profile makes New Hampshire a top-tier choice for the discerning prepper. 4. The provider state. Idaho. Securing the number 4 spot is a state that has long been a destination for those seeking a self-reliant lifestyle. Idaho. Mainstream financial analysts, looking at superficial metrics, often rank Idaho poorly for recession readiness. This analysis is dangerously flawed because it completely misses the point. We are not planning for a market downturn. We are planning for a societal reset. In that new reality, the metrics that matter are agricultural output, defensible geography, and a population that possesses practical survival skills. On these fronts, Idaho is an absolute juggernaut. The state's reputation as a prepper-friendly haven is well earned. This is not a place where you'll be the lone outlier. You will be surrounded by a community of like-minded individuals who value preparedness, skill building, and independence. This creates a powerful force multiplier, where neighbors are more likely to be assets than liability. When it comes to feeding yourself, Idaho's capabilities are almost unparalleled. The Snake River Plain is one of the most fertile and productive agricultural zones on the continent. While famous for its potatoes, the state is also a massive producer of wheat, barley, sugar beets, and hay. More importantly, it's a dominant force in cattle ranching. In a collapse, this means the local food supply won't just exist. It will be abundant. The ability to source food locally, whether through trade, barter, or your own production, is a game changer. Beyond the plains, Idaho's rugged, mountainous terrain offers incredible opportunities for seclusion and defense. These vast wilderness areas provide timber, a wide array of wild game for hunting, and a place to disappear from the chaos that will engulf more accessible region. This combination of factors, a prepper-centric culture and massive food production, is what places Idaho so high on this list. It strikes a rare balance between community strength and individual self-sufficiency. However, the state is not without its risks. Its popularity has led to a surge in population and a corresponding increase in land prices, particularly in the more desirable areas. Like its neighbors in the Mountain West, the threat of wildfire during the dry season is a serious and growing concern, and water rights can be a complex issue in certain regions. Careful selection of your specific location is paramount to mitigate these risks. Despite these challenges, Idaho's unique alignment of a prepared culture, immense agricultural wealth, and remote, defensible land makes it an outstanding choice. It is a state built for those who want to be part of a resilient community while having all the necessary resources to stand on their own 2 feet. The social fortress, Vermont. Clinching the number 3 position is a state that proves survival isn't always a solo mission. Welcome to Vermont. If your strategy for collapse hinges on the idea that we are stronger together, then this is your ground zero. Vermont consistently tops the charts as one of the safest states in the Union, but we need to look past the surface-level statistics. This isn't just about a low crime rate, it's about a deeply ingrained cultural ethos of mutual respect and community support. A recent analysis didn't just call it safe, it named Vermont the single safest state in the entire country. That is a direct reflection of a society that hasn't lost its connective tissue. In a SHTF scenario, this pre-existing social capital is an invaluable, non-physical asset. A community that already trusts and supports each other during the good times is exponentially more likely to band together, pool resources, and form a unified defense when things go bad, rather than descend into a free-for-all. Self-sufficiency is not a recent trend in Vermont. It is the bedrock of its identity. The state is a national trailblazer in the local food movement, with programs like its Farm-to-Plate initiative designed specifically to bolster a resilient, localized agricultural economy. What does that mean in a collapse? It means the infrastructure is already in place. The small farms, the regional distribution hubs, the collective knowledge of crop rotation, animal husbandry and food preservation, it's all there, battle-tested and operational. You are not starting from scratch. You are joining a well-oiled machine built for self-reliance. On the natural disaster front, Vermont is a veritable bunker. It is geographically shielded from the most destructive forces of nature. No major fault lines mean a low risk of earthquakes. Its inland northern location protects it from hurricanes, and it is not situated in a region prone to major tornadoes or widespread wildfires. The trade-offs, however, are significant and demand respect. The winters are long, dark, and brutally cold, necessitating a robust plan for heat and a hardy mindset. The short growing season is a serious logistical challenge that requires mastery of greenhouses, cold frames, and advanced food preservation methods like canning, drying, and fermenting. You will not survive here by casually tossing some seeds in the ground in May. Land prices can also be steep, reflecting the state's desirability. But for the individual who understands that the lone wolf often starves while the pack survives and is willing to invest in the skills needed to master a northern climate, Vermont represents the pinnacle of community-based security. 2. The last frontier. Montana. Securing the runner-up spot is a state that embodies the raw, untamed spirit of American independence. Montana. Big Sky Country is more than a nickname, it's a strategic reality. It offers a potent, almost unbeatable combination of geographic isolation, a resource-based economy, and a fiercely self-reliant culture. Montana's single greatest asset in a collapse is its staggering emptiness. With one of the lowest population densities in the nation, the state provides a natural buffer against the tides of chaos and displaced populations that will pour out of dying cities. There is simply more space than people, which is the ultimate luxury when society breaks down. This environment has long been a magnet for individuals who prize autonomy and preparedness. The state is teeming with people who are already living the life off-grid homesteaders, seasoned preppers, and rugged individualists who made self-sufficiency their life's work long before it became a topic of discussion. In many parts of Montana, being prepared isn't a niche hobby, it's the default setting. From a resource perspective, Montana is a self-sufficiency powerhouse. Its economy isn't built on flimsy financial services or tech bubbles. It's rooted in tangible, real-world assets. Agriculture, mining, and timber. This is a state that produces things. It's a major producer of wheat and a titan in the cattle industry. The raw materials for survival are not just present, they are abundant. For those skilled in hunting and fishing, Montana is a paradise, boasting enormous healthy populations of elk, deer, and fish in its thousands of rivers and lakes. The vast tracts of remote, undeveloped land are tailor-made for establishing a defensible off-grid homestead far from any potential threats. The state's fiscal management also points to a culture of prudence, with well-managed state reserves indicating a mindset that values preparation and long-term stability over short-term gratification. However, do not mistake its beauty for benevolence. The primary operational risk in Montana is the fury of nature itself. Wildfires are a serious and escalating threat, capable of turning a decades-old homestead into ash in a single afternoon. The winters are legendary for their brutality, long, intensely cold, and unforgiving. These are not challenges for the amateur. They are predictable threats that require serious, dedicated preparation and infrastructure. But for the well-equipped and highly skilled individual who is willing to face these environmental challenges head-on, Montana offers an almost perfect formula for thriving in a post-collapse world: unparalleled isolation, a staggering abundance of natural resources, and a culture that champions the very skills needed to rebuild. 1. The unbreakable bank. North Dakota. And now, for the #1 most survivable state, when the system fails. The choice might be unexpected, but a cold, hard look at the data reveals a clear winner: North Dakota. This state isn't flashy. It isn't a prepper fantasy landscape of mountains and forests. It is flat, it is cold, and it is brutally effective. Its strength lies not in romance, but in unmatched economic and agricultural resilience. North Dakota has consistently been ranked as the most recession-proof state in America, a title earned through a potent combination of massive government budget surpluses and an economy built on the production of real, essential goods. But here is the state's ace in the hole: its game-changing strategic asset, the Bank of North Dakota. It is the only state-owned bank in the entire nation. It is not tied to Wall Street, not beholden to the Federal Reserve. and not entangled in the web of derivatives and toxic assets that will bring the global financial system to its knees. In a full-blown financial collapse, while other state governments are imploding, this institution can act as a stabilizing force, providing liquidity and credit to keep the state's most critical sector, agriculture, functioning. This is an unprecedented advantage that no other state can claim. The absolute core of North Dakota's survivability is its agricultural output. The state isn't just part of the breadbasket, it is the breadbasket. It is a national leader in the production of wheat, barley, canola, oats, and numerous other staple crops. Put simply, North Dakota can feed itself many times over with a massive surplus to spare. This agricultural prowess is supported by a culture of unyielding resilience and hard work, forged by generations of farmers who have stared down every conceivable hardship, from droughts and floods to economic depressions, and endured. Outside of a handful of small urban centers, the state is profoundly rural, with an extremely low population density that provides a natural defense against social unrest. Furthermore, North Dakota has a very low risk profile for most catastrophic natural disasters. There are no hurricanes, no earthquakes, and a low threat from wildfires. Its primary environmental challenges are predictable and singular. Extreme winter blizzards and the potential for drought, and let's be blunt, the winters are not a joke. They are among the most severe on the continent. Life here requires a fundamental respect for the cold and a non-negotiable level of preparation. The infrastructure and the people are built for it, but for an outsider it will be a severe test. Despite this, North Dakota takes the top spot because it is dominant in the areas that matter most. Its economic independence is unparalleled. Its food production capacity is a foundation for absolute self-sufficiency. Its rugged culture provides a social firewall against chaos. In a world turned upside down, the quiet, productive, and brutally stable plains of North Dakota may just be the last bastion of order on Earth.